All right. Well, I wanted to just go ahead and make this video. It's going to be a really quick one. I've been thinking about this for a long time. I really used to love DC and everything, but just so much that has gone wrong with it here as of the past few years, especially recently. So I just wanted to make a goodbye video, I guess you could say. I'm not going to be really associating myself with DC as much as I typically do. Obviously, I'll still play the video games, but as for the movies, I'm gonna be honest, I'm probably just gonna stream them somewhere. Like, I'm not gonna waste my money anymore. They've made a lot of decent decisions. They made a lot of awful decisions. So I'm gonna kind of go through both of those. This is my 5 things I hate about DC, specifically the DCEU, and then 5 things I've loved that they've done. I will be uploading a Marvel variant of this for those people who are going to cry that I'm just a DC hater. I'm doing Marvel as well, MCU specifically. I'm doing them as well, so that'll actually be coming soon once I put together the same situation that I've done here. Let's just go ahead and dive into it. So the 5 things I've disliked so far. Let's start with this here. So this is my personal opinion. They should have connected the Arrowverse instead of trying to build a separate thing. I understand why they couldn't, legal reasons and everything, but we already had an established Flash. Green Arrow is a vital part of the Justice League, and he's just non-existent. We've got Adam. We have a Superman, and it would have opened up a lot more doors, even if they did a multiversal thing where they could combine them. They could have done it, and they just decided not to. They chose not to, and I understand. Well, I won't say that they chose not to. I know it's more of a legal thing, but we would have had a Supergirl. We would have had so many people that were in the DCU. We'd have Vixen. We could have, and I'll even throw in that we could have added in the Titans, and had Robin. We wouldn't have to have a dead Dick Grayson. We would just have Dick Grayson and Jason and all of them. Batgirl, Batwoman. We could have all of these characters if we had just done it this way, built off of the CW. You would have had a lot more if you had just built off of the CW and moved into the movies. I can even say with Gotham, you could have said that Ben Affleck was the adult version of the Gotham Bruce Wayne. That would have actually helped a lot with his story, instead of tossing Bruce Wayne into a Superman sequel and saying, oh, well, he's been Batman all this time. Okay, it just felt so random to me, and it's, next up, number 2 is these five characters specifically. There are a few more, but the characterizations of these characters have been kind of off. I will admit I'm not very familiar with Cheetah, so Kristen Wiig as Cheetah wasn't that bad to me, but she didn't feel like a real villain. Ezra Miller's Barry Allen is awful. I'm sorry. Actually, no, I'm not sorry. I'm not gonna apologize for that. Ezra Miller's Barry Allen. A lot of people hate me for saying this, but they act like Wally West. They act like Wally West. They do not act like Barry Allen. And I think that's what's bothering me. If they had just named them Wally West, would have been fine. Lex Luthor, most people dislike that. The reason why I have Henry Cavill here is because his Superman is just too brooding. He's supposed to be like the beacon of hope. He's supposed to be a hopeful, cheerful person. And now that he's back and saying that he is ready to play that hopeful, cheerful Superman, I am curious to see what he's going to do. But the fact that even he realizes that he wasn't a hopeful, cheerful Superman says a lot. And then Lois Lane, this lady was so bland. I can't even remember her name. I forgot her name again. I had some dude like attack me on Twitter because I said this lady, and that was because I didn't know her name, and he expected me to know who she was. I don't know this lady's name. I've never seen her in anything but Superman movies. I'm just not, she's not that, she doesn't stand out to me, and their chemistry just, there was barely any, in my opinion. I'm sure other people, there's people who claim to think that Jason Momoa and Amber Heard had chemistry. I'm sure they think their chemistry was worse, in my opinion. At least Jason and Amber's chemistry was faked to look like there was something. Theirs is just kind of bland. It's just really bland. Next up is the fact that we had Cyborg, who is a Teen Titan. I'm very tired of seeing Cyborg in Justice League movies, animated or not. Instead of him being a Teen Titan like he started out, he's a teenager. Yes, he is older than the other Teen Titans, but why do we not start out with the Teen Titans? You could have added the Green Lanterns. You put the Green Lanterns in the Justice League movie. You had them in the flashback. You could have had John Stewart. You could have cast Ray Fisher as John Stewart instead of Cyborg, and it would have worked out fine. You would have made a perfectly fine. Ray Fisher is a decent actor. Like, he's not bland. He's not boring. He was a great Cyborg, but he would have also been good as Green Lantern. I understand why, because of the mother boxes that you included Cyborg, but Green Lantern was just left out. Martian Manhunter was too. He just kind of shows up in like the end of the movie when he could have helped with the fight all that time. Like, come on now. Put the right characters in the Justice League. Number 4 is the rushing. Listen, I know some of you people in the DC fan base, y'all are like, oh, well, not every character needs their own movie, blah, blah, blah. Yes, they do. There needs to be some type of story. There is no reason for us to go from Superman to Superman and Batman to just straight up Justice League. Like, we did 3 movies, one for one Trinity character. The second one introduced the other 2. And then the third one was for another Trinity character. We just skipped out on Batman altogether. And then now we have 6. Just out of nowhere. Y'all just tossed in Flash, Cyborg, and Aquaman, and advertised Unite the 7. So you didn't even unite 7. You united 6, saying you were going to unite the 7 all this time. That's what you get for rushing. You should have, if you had built off of the CW, you would have already had an established storyline to lead up to this situation. But no, you had to rush it. You would have had that 10 years of story built up, just like MCU had already. Because that's how long the Arrowverse has been a thing, for almost 10 years. It would have been fine to have Arrow as the starter, just like Iron Man was the starter. It would have been fine. You didn't have to have Superman. It could have been Arrow to start it up. It would have been fine. But no, you didn't want to do that. So, and now you barely have a verse. Meanwhile, MCU is in their phase 4 and have phase 7, up to phase 7. They're up to phase 7 planned. Y'all can't even get a verse together. Come on now. And this is obvious. This one's obvious. Somebody tried to claim that Ezra Miller wasn't a criminal, but they are. They're definitely a criminal. Amber Heard is definitely a criminal. Amber Heard lost her court case. Amber Heard has been proven to be a abusive person, and neither of them have yet to be fired. There's even some type of rumor going on. It's a rumor as of right now because nobody in Amber Heard's little circle have confirmed or cheered or shared anything about it. But there is a rumor that there's a possibility that Amber Heard is not only not fired, but will continue to be Mira, that was the straw that broke the camel's back for me. Like, if you're not going to remove an abusive person from that, then why are we here? Like, why even bother? I'm not going to support that. I'm not going to support you. I'm sorry. Let's move forward. Enough negativity. Let's move on to what they've done right. Let's move on to what they've done right. So, this is characterization. Every character here, plus a few more. I'm missing Bloodsport. I'm missing Deadshot. In my personal opinion, I'm missing Jared Leto's Joker. I know that a lot of people hate his Joker, but when I think of a goofy comic book version of Joker, I think of Jared Leto's Joker. I think of Cameron Monaghan's Jokers more, but Jared Leto was pretty decent for me, in my opinion. He was decent as a comic book, like I could see me fighting up against him in a video game type of Joker. I enjoy Margot Robbie's Harley Quinn. Has to be one of the greatest things. Like, they nailed it with her. She's great. I do enjoy the girl who's playing Black Canary. Personally, I would have probably preferred one of the girls from the CW, but you know, they keep dying, so they keep dying, so I can't really say that. Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman, in my opinion, is decent. She plays a very sweet, kind-hearted, hopeful, yet naive because of her time type of Wonder Woman, and I like that. I wish she acted a little bit more naive, and by naive I mean, like, there's a scene in a Justice League movie that I watched where Wonder Woman tried ice cream for the first time, and they did the same exact thing in one of the Wonder Woman movies, where she tried ice cream for the first time and she said, "This is amazing, you should be proud." The difference was, in the animated version, Wonder Woman pulled out her sword and knighted the person and said, "You should be proud for this." And I wish she was more like that, but what they've done is decent. Ben Affleck as Batman, they've nailed it. Him and Rob, as of right now, are the two best Batman in my opinion. Rob plays the perfect, this is my first year, I just started Batman, and Ben plays the perfect, I've been doing this shit for fucking ever Batman. I love it. I love how they are. I love how their Bruce Waynes act so differently. I love that they gave Jason Momoa's Aquaman the surfer dude type attitude, because as somebody who knows people who like live on the shore, that's how they would act. I understand he's like the king of Atlantis and everything, but he's half human, so he spent a lot of his life on land. It would be next to the shore. He would be more of a surfer dude with tattoos and all of that, and it fits the character of Aquaman. I'm not an Aquaman comic reader, so I guess that's why that really like resonates with me, but whatever, it doesn't matter either way. Shazam, I grew up on Shazam. I grew up on Shazam before I grew up on Superman. I never grew up on Superman, if that tells you anything. I grew up on Shazam. I read Shazam comics when I was little. I was the person who read all the people who nobody read. I read Iron Man, I read Green Arrow, I read Shazam, I read Supergirl or Power Girl, one of them two. It was both. It was both. I read both. And I grew up on a few others that were, you know, they weren't the mainstream characters that you typically hear people growing up with. Superman, Spider-Man, Batman. I grew up with Spider-Man, but that was like the animated series and stuff like that. I didn't read the comics like I read those comics. I read Shazam comics, and they nailed Shazam. Shazam is probably the most comic book accurate comic book movie ever, in my opinion. But enough of this. I spent like maybe 5 minutes too long on this. Number 2, Batman's fighting style is the reason why I have an Arkham Batman on the background is because that's his whole like warehouse scene. And I know a lot of people who hate his Batman, like they're tired of hearing about the warehouse scene, but that's how Batman would fight. That is how an experienced Batman would fight. I hate Christian Bale's Batman so much. I hate because he doesn't fight like a Batman would. When I started reading Batman comics, I started playing the video games, and I started watching the Batman movies, the comics and the video games felt similar. The movies didn't, because we didn't have Ben yet. We had Keaton, and we had Bale, and we had Adam West. And none of those are anything like the comics I grew up reading, so I was not as interested. But Ben and Rob, they've got beginning Batman and end Batman perfectly. Let's see. This right here is going to piss off a lot of people, and I don't care. The Man of Steel, Superman, navy gray looking suit is awful. I hate the coloring. I'm sorry, I am a stickler for comic book accuracy. I understand it is not a comic book that I'm reading. I'm watching a movie. I'm not stupid. I get that. But if you're basing your character off of a comic book character, they should look like that character. So the other 2 suits, the Justice League suit and the black suit, are great. The black suit is a temporary suit, you idiots. The black suit is a temporary suit. And I just feel like that is... I'm sorry, I looked at my mic and realized it was... I was making sure that my mic... I'm making sure my mic was recording this whole time. It is. The black suit is temporary. It was always going to be temporary, even if Zack Snyder had continued. I understand that a lot of y'all probably think it wasn't going to, but it was. And Superman's colors are red and blue. Red and blue. That's his colors. That's what he's typically wears. Like, he wasn't going to switch to the black suit and then forever be wearing the black suit. That wasn't going to happen. No matter how y'all feel about it, that was not going to happen. I promise you that was not going to happen. But those 2 suits, they're fantastic. They are great. That first suit, I'm glad they got rid of it. I'm glad it was gone. Wonder Woman's movies. Now, I know a lot of people hate the second one. I personally don't care. Her fighting style and fight scenes in both of her movies were on point. I think the best scene was the one where she's fighting the soldiers in the tower. That was one of the best scenes in comic book history. I promise you, it was amazing. It was great, and I absolutely loved it. And the final thing here, we talked about Batman's fights. We talked about Wonder Woman's fights. I know I'm not a fan of Man of Steel, but they never miss. Zack Snyder, I'm not huge on his storytelling, but that man never misses in a fight scene. Zack Snyder never missed. Ow. I hit my mic. It's all right. I'm fine. Zack Snyder never missed with a fight scene. He never missed. Zack Snyder never missed. The hand-to-hand combat when it came to him against Fiora and him against Zod, the fighting that he did against Doomsday, his fight against Batman, his fight against Steppenwolf, all of those are top-notch fighting. But I think my favorite one has to be the one with Fiora. I think a lot of people, his fight against Fiora, that hand-to-hand combat was just, that was amazing. That was beautiful. That was beautifully done. Beautifully done. So yeah, that's it. So yeah, This is my goodbye. I'm still going to sometimes maybe cover some things with DC content. I'm still kind of a fan of the comic books. I will still be reading the comics. I will still be playing the video games. I do plan on playing Gotham. But as for the DCEU, I'm going to have to say goodbye to you. All right. See you guys in the next video.